glad you're here at MC. Those of you students, glad you're here to support your colleague, your friend, right? Thank you, Dr. White, Dr. Melanson for serving on the committee with me, Dr. Weeks for representing our Honors Council, and thus the Honors College just happens to be a double duty. Anna as a student of Honors College. So we'll wait, I say another minute or two, and if they're not here, it's 41. You know me, I start on time.
Oh yeah, I appreciate that. I'd rather start on time than not late.
I sat in your seat so that I could
The vibe.
maybe I could get some of it into me, you know, like Anna Robbins.
Hey Megan, come in. We have seats up front too if you would like to be up there.
I should sleep.
You can sit on the front. Libby Kane will be like this. Come in.
Yeah, I'm afraid that if Libby Kate was on the front row, I would be losing my composure.
I can leave.
You
We
don't
should
leave.
barely be sat together in class. Hey, Dr. Williams, come on in.
Come here.
Wow, we have spots left.
Yes, let's do it. Yes.
Girls,
I sit there.
So like, I don't know what it's like, like,
So we can't exactly whisper to each other.
we just handle it.
Hey, Lexi.
come in.
This is my other one.
Twice in one day.
Alright.
Micah, if you don't mind closing that door, just don't close it all the way in case somebody else comes in.
Sure.
And they can just open up.
All right, sounds good.
And the floor now is yours. Anna.
Hi everyone. This is the culmination of 2 years of work for me. But even before that, it's the culmination of a lot of time that I've spent studying this language, and a lot of time that I've spent studying other Mayan languages. I've been to Guatemala many times. Actually, the first time I went to Guatemala was 15 years ago to the day. So this is kind of a full circle moment for me. If you know me, if you've even heard of me, you know how much I love language, and I always have. So this is something that I am super excited to get to share with you guys. Quick acknowledgements. Thank you so much to all of you guys. You're my biggest supporters. So yeah, all of my biggest supporters are in this room, as well as most of the best professors I've ever had. So,
Now you're gonna make me cry.
well, yeah. Also, I want to thank Dr. Stapleton. I know not all of you know Dr. Stapleton, but she has been the biggest encouragement to me, and she's a brilliant linguistic mind. And also, she's just been a super patient and creative advisor during this time. So, thank you.
Thank you.
And now I'm actually going to get started. Tzutujil is a Mayan language that's spoken primarily in 5 towns around Lake Atitlan in Guatemala. So many people don't even know that Tzutujil exists. That's because it only has about 80,000 speakers. That's pretty small. Also, mind you, Guatemala is the most densely populated country in Central America, so that's a really small geographical area. Here's Guatemala. You all know where it is, but I just want to point a couple things out. In the 1200s, the Tzutujil moved from here. This is the Veracruz, Tabasco area of Mexico. They migrated down here to Lake Atitlan in Guatemala. Now, for some context, in 1200, someone open the door then?
Yep.
In 1200, some other things that were happening was the English Parliament was established, Genghis Khan was reigning in Asia, and the University of Salamanca was founded. So that's pretty cool. They moved down here. For a closer look at Lake Atitlan, here it is. These 5 towns, right? And so originally, they settled here. This is the northern bank of Lake Atitlan. They were concentrated down here by the Spanish in 1523 for the purposes of religious conversion, right? So the Spanish came in with Catholicism. They said, we need all of this Mayan religion out. We're moving you down here so we can have easier access to you. So they were further into the mountains, but they moved down here. So this time of them arriving here and moving here, that was about the time between the University of Salamanca being founded and the Magna Carta being signed, is when they were moved here. So that's crazy. Actually, you can see, I just want to point this out so fast. You can see 3 of the 5 towns that speak Tz'utujil from here. So this is San Pedro, this is San Juan, this is Santa Maria, over to the left is San Pablo, and behind this mountain is Santiago. Those are the only places where it is spoken. This is the Tz'utujil alphabet. It looks like what we're familiar with because it's the Latin alphabet, but I want you to notice that there's a few things that are kind of odd. The number one thing being that they have double vowels. So Proto-Mayan is the way old version of Mayan that led to all of the Mayan languages we know today. So that actually had a 10 vowel inventory instead of just 5. And all that is short vowel and long vowel version of each one. Now, Tz'utujil retained these long vowels, but not all Mayan languages did, and that's going to be important later. Also, they have glottal stops. So this one here at the end is a glottal stop. And also they have glottalized consonants. That means that it's pronounced at the back of your throat. FAQ, I'm going to blow through this really quick because I need to get into the body of this. But I thought the Mayans were not still around. They are. Most people,
Yep.
you would be shocked the number of people I speak to who have no idea the Mayans are still around. But maybe we should think about, why don't we know they're still around? We think of the Mayans as going away around the 1500s. That's not a coincidence. That was the time that they were colonized. Those are the Aztecs, right? No, not the Aztecs. That's it. How do you pronounce Tz'utujil? Tz'utujil. Tz'utujil. Wow, I bet that language is impossible. It's not. It's actually pretty easy. Are you sure the word is Maya and not Mayan? You say Mayan to refer to a language, and you use the word Maya to refer to anything else. Maya people, Maya culture, Maya food. This is the crux of what I'm here to tell you guys. Many words that are originally from Spanish exist in Tz'utujil today. There are observable patterns that define the way the pronunciation changed when they switched from one language to another. The reason languages transferred from Spanish to Mayan was because of the proximity that came from colonization, right? So a lot of the words even that we see have been loaned from Spanish are words having to do with Catholicism, words having to do with animals that the Spanish brought with them, and other things that didn't already exist in the Tz'utujil vernacular. A loanword is a word that's been borrowed between languages. Loaned word. Resume is a loan word from French to English. Notice that we've changed the pronunciation of the word resume. That's not how the French say it. I don't know how the French say it. But the important thing is that it's changed. Also, fun fact, this is just a linguistics nerd thing, so you guys get to hear this. Loan word itself is not originally an English word. It's from the German word Loanwort, or however you pronounce that. It was taken directly from the German, which when people do that, that's called a calque, right? So calque, though, is a French word. So calque is a loan word, and loan word is a calque.
Yeah.
Anyway. So this is, hopefully you guys will get this. The simplest and most common substitution when we're speaking of loan words is the substitution that takes place when a native sound sequence is used to imitate a foreign one. In simple words, that just means an accent. Okay? So what we're really looking at is the patterns that the Tz'utujil accent demonstrates when it latches onto Spanish words. Phonology, a field of linguistics that investigates the sound system of a language. We have phonetics and phonology, which are similar but not the same. I learned that in Dr. Stiglitz. And we're going to use, this is important, we're using the IPA, International Phonetic Alphabet, to represent phonemes outside of the context of a specific language. This is the International Phonetic Alphabet. You're going to see a lot of these symbols. I know we have some people in here who love the International Phonetic Alphabet, myself included. all you need to know is that each of these represents a sound, and it was invented so that we didn't have to worry about, oh, what language system are we using to spell out this word? There are 3 languages that this study, there's research concerning 3 different languages that I pulled from for this study. When you look at my source list, it's gonna look like I didn't look very hard for sources, and that's not the truth. There are so few sources that actually pertain to this. But what I did find were resources on Tzutujil, which is the one I'm aiming for, Tz'utujil and Kekchi. Tz'utujil and Kekchi are Quichean languages. They're in the same family. They're cousins with Tz'utujil. See? This is the Quichean family tree. Here's Kekchi, and Tz'utujil and Tz'utujil are so similar, they're right there together. And that was really good news for me, because that meant I could compare them. Here are the main sources that I used. Eric Adele did some work on Tz'utujil, John P. Daly did some work on Tzutujil, and Wickman and Hall did work on Kekchi. And this is where all of my Tzutujil words came from. So, here are my things that I found from their research. They noticed that when words moved from Spanish into Tz'utujil and Kekchi, what happened is that final vowels were deleted, alveolar fricatives assimilated to a certain sound. That sound is shh. The non-functional plural explains the X on the end of some loans, and we'll get into that. And this is yeah, or the orthographic double L, which you guys are familiar with in Spanish, changed to a single L in Mayan. Daly, the only source I had to go on for Tzutujil, wrote a very good grammar book and a very extensive grammar book. And in that, he just said that the voice stops B, D, and G, B, D, G are always Spanish loans. If you see a Tzutujil word with B, D, or G in it, it is a loan word from Spanish. And here's an example of that. So we see that B turns into either B stop or a W, so it can be dropped. Like we have vaca to huacash. We have viaje to viaja. With D, sometimes it's retained. Dios is Dios. Dominga is tumin. We have gringo, gringo. And garbanzo, carbanzo. We already know that that changes in Tzutujil, but that's basically all we know. Now, this is the part where I get to do something fun, which is hypothesize, which is hypothesis. So I think that because these languages are so similar, those patterns that were found by Adele, Wickman, and Hall are going to pertain to Tzutujil as well. Final vowel deletion. Does not really. So we're off to a strong start. So it does sometimes, but it's a pattern in Tz'utujil, and it just doesn't seem to be in Tzutujil. Now, there can be a couple reasons for this, but honestly, I'm not sure what they are, and we need to work more on studying that. Second one, the orthographic eye, or yeah, if you're speaking early Spanish. It does. So, castellano, Kashlan. Now, that double L now is pronounced like ya like llamar. But way back when, it was pronounced like ya. And we know that because Spanish was influenced by a language called Catalan, which is actually an indigenous language on the Iberian Peninsula. It's still spoken in Barcelona, which is really neat. But the ya is a sound from Catalan. And there's going to be a couple more that we talk about. So, silla, Sheila, cuchillo, cuchil, llave, llave. We see. Now, those are the old loans. In newer loans, we have words that are actually pronounced like yeah. Pastilla is pastilla. Ladrillo is ladrillo. And in the newer loans, they move over to Y's. We know those are newer because they move to Y's instead of L's. Alveolar and post-alveolar fricatives sound scary if you don't know linguistics, but they are not. So all that means is things that were written in early Spanish as S and Z. These are more Catalan sounds. So, sha, ja, sh, z. Those are those sounds, right? And those don't really happen in Spanish anymore, but they do happen in Catalan still. This is sh, silla, sheila. That first one, it would have been shia. I spelled that wrong on there. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I bet they didn't notice.
Yeah. This is costal, costar. You see how that could have changed over? That's really neat. Now, there are some times where sh actually moves to ch, like Luis, Huicho, Josepa, Chepa. Pretty neat. We don't know why that happens, but it does. Now, sometimes S is retained. I think that that's because the loan is newer. So, lombris, lumbris, almacio, almacia. If the loan is newer, it's going to have what we consider a normal S sound now. Okay, these are your post-alveolar fricatives. This part is actually a little tougher for me. But this is ja. Okay? So, in Old Spanish, or early Spanish, naranja. Now it's naranja. But it being pronounced as ja explains why it would have moved to an X. So we have naranja, aranchesh, ajo, anshush, Geronimo, Chiron. And there's more. Sometimes in, again, newer loans, J is retained. Mágica, mágica. Mojarra, mojarra. The non-functional plural. This is the fun part, and I put together a visual to try to help you guys get this. Okay. I know some of you use Duolingo. Can someone tell me what this is in Spanish?
Vaca.
Vaca. What's more than one of them? Vacas. Vacas, vacas. Right? So the non-functional plural is the idea that things that came in pairs or in groups actually moved over in their plural form to Mayan. So wakash is a singular word in Tzutujil. Tzutujil doesn't even have the same plural system that Spanish does. But the idea is that it originally came from the word vacas. Pato, patush, or patos, limones, lamunes, naranjas, aranchesh. Right? So that S is moving over to be an X. That's really cool. And we notice that in other languages. And it also applies to Tzutujil. Everything I've shown you is Tzutujil. So that's really neat. Botas is also one. I think this one is newer because it has an S on the end instead of an X. But my contributions. This is what I'm really proud of. I mean, when I say I'm the only person in the world who's ever done this, it's because nobody else in the world really cares this deeply about my loanword phonology, but it's pretty cool. So I'm proposing certain consonant changes, final vowel change, and vowel elongation. Vowel elongation is unique to Tzutujil, and I'm going to tell you why. Consonant changes. L and R switch. Delantal, lantar. Carnero, carnesh. R's are moving to L's, and L's are moving to R's. Those are similar sounds. They're both called liquids in linguistics, so that's not very surprising. But yeah. M and N. Altamisa, altamish. Conforme, conforma. F and P. There's no F in Tzutujil. So every F sound from Spanish actually changed to be a P. Alfiler, alfler. Oficio, oficio. Final vowel change. This happens, my theory is that this happens because Tzutujil has a preference for open vowels. So A is what we call an open vowel, whereas our E's and our I's are a little bit more closed, right? So, guajilote, Kawilota. So the A on the end, or the E on the end turned into an A. Culantro, culandra. The O on the end turned into an A. Now, sometimes they're retained. I don't know why. I wish that there was an easy pattern for me to say, this always happens, but that's really just not how any language works. So, now, vowel elongation. Remember what I told y'all about how there was a 10 vowel inventory in Proto-Mayan? Okay, Tzutujil still has 10 vowels, while these other languages do not. So, what I found, this is really cool, is that stress in Spanish actually pertains to long vowels in Tzutujil loanwords. So, the word licenciado in Spanish, our emphasis is on the A, licenciado, and that's our double vowel. Manteca, manteca, and that's our double vowel. So, I am the first person to ever say that I'm aware of. I'm very proud of that. So there's also some discussion to be had on language politics. When I was doing this project, I was able to speak to some people who are native Tzutujil speakers, and they have a lot of complex feelings on the Spanish language, because honestly, the Spanish language is the way to get a job. And a lot of people now are not learning Tzutujil in favor of learning English. And so it's really difficult for the community, and it's honestly a hard balance because their community also relies really heavily on tourism surrounding the Tzutujil culture, right? Which is sad but true. So really the question is, how does the community strike the balance between preserving the language and accepting that Spanish loanwords are going to come in, and that possibly allowing these loanwords is going to encourage people to continue speaking Tzutujil, you know? Again, complex feelings. A lot of like the women that I spoke with didn't acknowledge Spanish words as loanwords, even if the dictionary did. And often would actually mark those words out and replace them with native roots, which is very interesting. Because those words are valid words. It's just the choice of like which ones do they want to use. Further study could be on semantic patterns. That means patterns in which words are adopted based on their meaning. Like I said, we have a lot of religious words, we have a lot of names, we have a lot of things like oranges and cows were not in Central America until the Spanish brought them. So that's pretty cool, and I think someone should study that. Maybe me in the spring. That concludes what I have to say, and I would love to answer questions.
Any questions or comments for Anna?
So you visited the Tzutujil people, you've spoken with them?
Yeah, so I got to conduct some interviews. This study kind of took several turns. Dr. Stapleton was that. God love her.
Hey, you got a great product.
Originally, I was asking them to actually confirm whether or not certain words were Tzutujil loanwords. But in those interviews, I also asked about, Dr. Stapleton had the foresight to suggest that I ask about their perceptions of the Tzutujil language, of the influence of the Spanish language on Tzutujil. So, yeah. But I've been in Tzutujil speaking areas every time I've been to Guatemala. I have close friends who are Tzutujil native speakers, and that's really special to me.
Other comments or questions? Yes?
Why do loanwords go from one language to another?
Well, on a large scale, we say colonialism. On a smaller scale, we say bilinguals. So, bilinguals exist in Central America because of colonization. But the situations in which words might originally get loaned are things like intermarrying, or my mom speaks Tzutujil, my dad speaks Spanish. How am I going to speak with them? And honestly, my language might come out kind of in between, somewhere in between. So, yeah.
It's also, I'll add in, just think about going out to eat Mexican food. Now everybody knows what fajitas and tacos and burritos, like 30 years ago, oh yeah, I would have fajitas. Like, what? What'd you eat? Now everybody knows it. It's just a proximity to the culture. And so in these close communities, there's some words that are just going to be easier just to kind of assimilate into a new language.
Also, if I'm a Tzutujil person in 1600 and my friend's like, yo, what's that fruit? And I've only ever heard it called limones, I'm going to call it lamunesh. And that's how it's going to get started. So.
Other comments? Well, I think Anna, you
One
deserve.
question.
Yes. Yes. Sorry, Dad.
I only have 20 or 25. No, so in your research, did you find any loan words into Tzutujil that are not from Spanish? Like, or are there
Yes.
any other
I'm
influences?
so glad you brought that up. So,
Well, you told me to ask it about
so
I understand.
the reason there are so few resources for loan words from Spanish to Mayan is that most of the resources about loaning are between Mayan languages. So especially in the paper by Wickman and Hall and Kekji, I was able to take some information from that, but most of the paper was about Cholan. Cholan is a Mayan language. Cholan influences on Kekji. So that's also another thing that actually Eric Adele brings up in his discussion in his paper on Kekji is that when we look at loanwords in Mayan, we actually don't really know if they came directly from Spanish. So, I mean, I can say, I think this came from Spanish, but maybe it was originally loaned into Kekji and then that was loaned into Tzutujil, if that makes sense. So, loaning between Mayan languages is super extensive. Oh, and Aztec. Aztec languages had an influence. In fact, the word Atitlan is Nahuatl.
Are there English words loaned into Tzutujil?
Yes, the word for toothpaste is colgate.
Colgate.
Yes.
You said there was a little bit of resistance against using Spanish words. Do the
Yes.
Tzutujil kind of keep themselves separated from other groups?
So it's very difficult to do that. It's kind of, so because of how difficult travel is in the mountains in Guatemala, they kind of by nature are isolated. Really when we talk about Spanish influence, now we're talking about like westernization, right? Originally it was from Spain directly, but now it's kind of impossible for them to stay isolated. But originally, yes, I would assume they really tried to keep their distance.
Anna, do they
Yes.
have television in that area?
Yeah, they do.
So they're.
And it's in Spanish, probably.
Yes, but there are many people, especially in older generations, who only speak Tzutujil and not Spanish.
Mm.
Also, you said an important thing, it seems like to me, that learning Spanish, knowing Spanish is a way, and now, of course, English, to get a job.
Well, yes, and it's a thing like, I mean, if I'm a teenage guy in San Juan, Guatemala, I'm thinking like, why would I learn Tzutujil? My grandma speaks that language. You know, I don't really care about language conservation because I don't need to, you know, but the truth is, yeah. Yes, Rachel?
You mentioned the integration of Catholicism from the Spanish. Was there much, and obviously the assimilation of religion, stuff like that, as with Spanish culture as well as language. Was there a lot of impact on religious assimilation and the language itself? And what's the relationship? Is there a relationship?
What's the relationship between language assimilation and religious assimilation, you mean?
Yes.
So, a lot. There's actually a really cool thing. So, San Juan La Laguna is named San Juan after Saint John, right? But it has a totally different Tzutujil name, which I don't actually know, but it has one. So does San Pedro, so does San
Santa
Pablo.
Maria.
Yeah, all of these, right? And so even now, like, there's a cool brand of, I mean, I don't know about cool, but like, fascinating brand of a mix between folk religion and Catholicism that's going on there. And with that, a lot of linguistic mixing. So like the word for ofrenda, as in Day of the Dead, ofrenda, is oprenda. And honestly, most of the Catholic words, almost all of them, are straight from Spanish. So yeah. Yes.
Do you think any of the phonetic patterns of like say the labiodental being turned into a bilabial, do you think any of that has any influence from the interactions with the different Maya languages?
Probably, but I don't know enough to really say like why or how. But that's probably definitely the biggest outside force going on here. So most likely, yes.
The double vowels, you said the purpose of them was to emphasize what part of the word was stressed.
Mm-hmm.
Is that their only purpose? Like, do they sound different in any way, or their sounds exactly the same as the single vowel?
So in certain dialects, they are going to be a little different. So like. Certain dialects in certain contexts within the word. So, unlike Spanish vowels, Tz'utujil vowels actually sound a little different depending on where they're placed in the word and what's around them. So, yeah. I mean, by and large, the long ones are just going to be stressed, though. So, yeah.
One more question? Well, I think Anna deserves a round of applause. Now we'll have to ask you, except for the committee, to leave. You may go to the courtyard and enjoy our fountain, or over back to alumni. She will be out in not too long. The fountain. I love seeing his face like.
Keep it running so we know what happens.
Science is good.
I mean, I won't say anything.
I think I should probably turn it off.
Yeah.
I have a feeling they want you to turn it off. I should probably turn it